Oh yeah, I forgot. Alright, just gather around in a way where you can all see and hear, and that's what's most important. So right now we are standing in the Granary Burying Ground. This is the third oldest cemetery in the city. Now it is the final resting place of some of Boston's most famous dead people. It was established in 1660. That was 30 years after John Winthrop and the Puritans left England searching for religious freedom and landed here. Now what they found was very different than what we see today. Back then, Boston was just a narrow peninsula, about 780 acres big. Now to put that into perspective, that's about the size of Central Park in New York City. Now there are also 3 very large hills that rose high above the harbor over there. And when the Puritans explored these hills, imagine their surprise to find somebody already living there. And it was not Native Americans, as you might expect. It was an Englishman. Reverend William Blackston was an Anglican hermit who had already set up shop here with his sheep and his Bible, and he was very happy all by himself. But he was welcoming to the Puritans when they needed his help finding food and fresh water. However, after 4 years of the Puritans hanging and stoning and caging and cutting the ears off of pretty much anyone who they didn't like, Reverend Blackston peaced out. He moved down to Rhode Island, but before he left, he sold all the land that now makes up Boston Common to the Puritans for just 30 pounds. Now convert that into today's money, I don't know, that'll get you like 2 hot dogs and some roasted nuts.
Yeah, that's like $30.
Oh, yeah, oh, yes, I haven't eaten all day. Now, with the land all to themselves, the Puritans founded the first public school in America. It was Boston Latin School. And 1 year later, over in Cambridge, they founded New College. Today, we know it as Harvard University. Now, during the 1800s, Boston was a hub of the abolitionist movement. In fact, it was home to the Liberator, the first abolitionist newspaper published by William Lloyd Garrison. And during the Civil War, Massachusetts was the first state to allow black and white soldiers to serve together in the military. Yeah, that was the 54th Regiment led by General Robert Gould Shaw. I don't know if you've seen the movie Glory with Matthew Broderick and Denzel Washington. That's all about them. Now, they're also honored through memorial on Beacon Hill. Beacon Hill is the big hill where you saw the Golden Dome. That is one of the 3 hills that I mentioned earlier. As you can see, there are not 3 hills here anymore. And the reason for that is the early settlers dug those up, leveled it off, and then used all that dirt to fill in the lakes, the ponds, the swamps, the rivers, and even part of the Back Bay. And for decades, they imported land by train from western Massachusetts. And by 1900, Boston's landmass had more than tripled in size. Sorry, I'm getting spittle on you. Need a raincoat in the front. And more than 500,000 people moved here to Boston. Now, by the 20th century, Boston also adopted some nicknames. The Athens of America, the Mecca of medicine. Yeah. We've dedicated ourselves to being U.S. leaders in medicine and education. There are over 30 medical facilities here, and every September, a whopping 250,000 students come here to learn. Now, we will switch gears back to the cemetery, where we are. Lots of famous dead people buried here, including Boston's Mother Goose. This is Elizabeth Goose. No, she wasn't a real duck. That's cool. No, she was a lady who raised 20 children, 14 grandchildren, and 12 great-grandchildren. Imagine all of you being raised by the same woman. Yikes. Now, in her honor, I've actually prepared a little nursery rhyme of my own about her neighbors here in the graveyard. But this is not your everyday nursery rhyme, all right? This is some veritable hip-hop here in the cemetery. So I need you all to help me lay down a beat, all right? Usually I ask people just, a little stomp, clap, but, do what you want. Like, help a brother out, all right? Yeah, come on, don't be shy. All right. So here in the Granary Burial Ground, an array of famous graves are found. While the grass is alive and the tourists do thrive, the bodies do not make a sound. Now Paul Revere made the midnight ride. The British are coming! He cried, his voice led the way, and we honor today the first ye old Boston tour guide. John Hancock had money, Sam Adams had brains. Together they were against British constraints. But money won't last and brains will show past that fear of their rotting remains. And Benjamin Franklin would want you to know that he does not rest 6 feet below. That stone with his name should also proclaim he was buried in Philly a long time ago. How many more lay deep inside this yard, and they would love to give you their regards. But since they are dead, we will say instead, perhaps you can send them a card. What?
Where you going? I'm glad you guys are having fun. But they get back to me. He's like, you got that on camera, right?
Yeah, of course.